start with Surah Al-Muzammil. Okay, we're going to recite a little bit from Muzammil. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها المزمل قم الليل إلا قليلا نصفه أو انقص منه قليلا أو زد عليه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا إنا سنلقي عليك قولا ثقيلا إن ناشئة الليل هي أشد وطئا وأقوم قيلا إن لك في النهار سبحا طويلا واذكر اسم ربك وتبتل إليه تبتيلا رب المشرق والمغرب لا إله إلا هو فاتخذه وكيلا واصبر على ما يقولون واهجرهم هجرا جميلا وذرني والمكذبين أولي النعمة ومهلهم قليلا إن لدينا أنكالا وجحيما وطعاما ذا غصة وعذابا أليما. Okay, we'll stop here. So far, I feel like reading the whole story. Okay, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على رسول المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربنا زدنا علما. Okay, we are at Juz 29. Okay, and Juz 29, of course, all the surahs are Makki surahs. Most of the part. Maybe an ayah here and there must have been revealed in Medina, but all these surahs are categorized as Makki surahs. And so, as is characteristic of Makki surahs, they are reminders of the Day of Judgment. And almost all these surahs were revealed in the first 2 years, like in the beginning of Islam, very beginning of Islam. And very, very beautiful surahs also. Like, whenever you go through any surah, you're like, okay, this has to be my favorite surah. This has to be my favorite surah. Okay, but surah, yeah.
My favorite surah of all of them was Surah Iqra Bismi Rabbika Alladhi Khalaq, because it was
the first revelation. That is in Juz 30 though. Inshallah, we'll do that tomorrow. Yeah, this in Juz 29. I mean, all of them are nice. One of my favorite is Surah Al-Muzammil. I like Insan also a lot. All of them are very good. Okay, so now the first surah is Surah Al-Mulk, and of course Surah Al-Mulk too. Surah Al-Mulk, there is a special virtue also of Surah Al-Mulk. There's a hadith that says that there is 30 ayahs in the Quran that will be intercession on the day for the person who recites it. It will save them from the punishment of the grave. There's another hadith that says that it will intercede on behalf of the person who recited it until that person is forgiven. Okay, and Surah Al-Mulk is, you have to read it every night, every day. Okay. And Allah starts the surah with Tabarakalladhi biyadil mulk wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Blessed is He, be He, in whose hands is the kingdom of all the, the kingdom of the universe, and He's the one who has power over everything. Okay, and then Allah is telling how He created death and life. First death is being mentioned and then life is being mentioned, and scholars say that most likely it is because the death is talking about the death that we will die, and then the life is the second life we have, resurrecting on the Day of Judgment. Yeah, another thing that is possible, it could also be possible that death meaning we were nothing first, and then from that we got life. Okay, so Allah says that He is the one who created death and life, so that He may, what is the purpose of our life? So that to be لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا, to test which among you is best in deed. Okay, who's doing the best in deed. So Allah starts the surah by saying that, and then Allah turns our attention to observe the heavens and the earth and the universe, and no matter how much you look, you'll never be able to see any fault in it. Have you ever seen any fault in the sky, Ammar? Allah's creation is perfect, right? And then Allah talks about how when the people who deny and they'll be thrown into the, before that Allah talks about the stars that adorn the sky and all that. We have done that before, so I'm not going into that. And then Allah talks about how whenever a person is taken to thrown into the hell, the guard will ask, did any warner come to you? Like, it's obvious if a warner came to you that you would accept Islam. So they're surprised that, oh, didn't a warner come to them? Like, how come they didn't accept Islam? And then so the people will say that yes, they did come, and then at that point they'll realize we wish that we should have obeyed that person and taken his word. Okay, if we should have used our intelligence. That's the word that is being used. وَقَالُوا لَوْ كُنَّا نَسْمَعُ أَوْ نَعْقِلُ. Okay, we should have listened and we should have used our intelligence. Okay.
I also learned this in Surah Buruj.
Mm-hmm.
And when the king,
Yeah.
he's bad, right?
Yeah.
So his people, he and the people who didn't become Muslims,
Yeah. They will deny it, exactly. Just like Fir'aun and other people before them as well. And then Allah talks about, like, He draws attention to see how the birds are in the sky, right?
Yeah.
The gravity, all those. And then Allah is telling how very few people are grateful for everything that Allah has given us. He mentions all those things, and then the surah ends with like a warning, okay, saying that, have you, like, warning in a sense, like through a question. Okay, Allah says, have you considered that if Allah were to stop, like, we get water everywhere, right? If Allah wished the water you have, He could have stopped the flow, or the water could have sunk down into the ground, and then we wouldn't be able to get water. And water is like one of the basic, it's like the elixir of our life, right? Basic necessities. Yeah, we need it for wudu also. And that's how Allah ends the Surah Mulk. The next surah is Surah Al-Qalam. Again, it's a powerful surah. Allah starts the surah by swearing by the pen. Noon wal qalami wa ma yasturun, and by what it writes. Okay? And then Allah is kind of consoling that you, O Muhammad, you are not a madman. Okay? And for you is never ending reward. And in this surah is like one of the places where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is being praised, like, in the best manner. Allah is saying, إِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, you, O Muhammad, are of the highest noble character. Okay? Allah is consoling him, and also it's a lesson for everybody else. Like, the best role model, the best person to learn from is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course, we know, we have heard so much about his noble character that we need to try to emulate, right? Yeah, very good. And then Allah talks about the story of the people who had gardens. They were tested, Ashab al-Jannah. It was a test for them. They were owners of a garden where they had a lot of things growing. They had good harvest and all that. But because they wanted to be stingy, they didn't want to give sadaqah. They'll discuss amongst themselves that, okay, we don't want to give sadaqah. So before the next morning and people see that they have all this, let's do all the harvest. Okay, so because they didn't want to give sadaqah.
They wanted to take all the things.
Yesterday you told us not to talk with others. Not to talk with just
a little bit, yeah. No, but this is different. This is talking about how the people who are the owners would discuss that, okay, you know what, before people see, let's take everything away so that we don't have to share. And then as a result of that, their stinginess, Allah will test them by the garden being destroyed. And then they will regret and they'll understand that, you know, only giving is going to increase their wealth. And then the next surah is Surah Al-Halaqa. Again, the way Al-Halaqa, that word itself starts with like getting attention way, right? Because if you even look at the tajweed way of, like the right way of reciting it, it has mad lazim. Mad lazim is a mad followed by sukun or shad. Shad is equivalent to sukun. Because qaf, if it has shadda, it's q plus qa. So al-haqqa. So that, and then qa is also a heavy letter, right? That itself gains attention. And al-haqqa is from the word haqq. What does haqq means? Haqq means truth. Okay, so al-haqqa means the ultimate reality, the ultimate truth, the inevitable truth. It's surely the truth. And then Allah is asking, what will make you know what this truth is? And of course, this truth is about the day of resurrection. And before that, even about how the people who denied were tested. Allah sent His punishment upon them. Because Allah talks about فأما ثمود فأهلكوا بالطاغية وأما عاد فأهلكوا بريح صرصر عاتية. And then Fir'aun, and then Fir'aun is also being mentioned. Nuh alayhi salam is being mentioned. Okay, and then this is the surah where Allah is talking about how the people will get some of the things of heaven is being mentioned and some of the things of hellfire is being mentioned. Okay, how they'll get the book in the right hand and some of them will get the book in the left hand. That is being mentioned. Okay, and then Allah is telling how towards the end Allah is, and very powerful, even though all these things are being mentioned everywhere, and now when I keep saying it might be sounding repetitive, but the words, if you learn it in Arabic, it's very powerful. If you learn the tafsir and really understand it in the Arabic language, you won't get bored even if it's the same thing being mentioned, because every time it's a unique way of presenting. Okay, Allah's words are so unique. That's why Allah is saying that nobody will be able to bring something similar to it. Okay, and then Allah ends the surah by saying that this is the word of Allah recited by a noble Rasul. He is not a soothsayer, he's not a madman. Okay, and then Quran is a reminder for those who are God-fearing. Okay, and again, just like how the surah started, al-haqqa, right? The true reality, the inevitable reality. The last ayah is also وَإِنَّهُ لَحَقُّ الْيَقِينِ, meaning the day of resurrection. The Quran, the message, again Allah is saying حَقُّ الْيَقِينِ. This is the truth, which is certain, absolute truth. Okay, فَسَبِّحْ, so glorify the name of your Lord, the Most High. So just like how the surah started, you see how it dovetails it very beautifully. The next surah is Surah Al-Ma'arij. Again, this surah is also about the day of judgment, and it mentions how the day of judgment will be equal to 50,000 years. Okay, it's a long, long, long time. But for the believers, Allah will make that time easy because they'll get the shade of Allah. May Allah make us among those people. Okay, then Allah is mentioning how in this surah Allah mentions how innal insana khuliqa halu'a إِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ جَزُوعًا وَإِذَا مَسَّهُ الْخَيْرُ مَنُوعًا. Indeed, man has been created impatient. We are impatient people, right? We want instant gratification, right? When evil befalls him, we become despondent, like we become close to Allah. We want to do good. When we are blessed with good fortune, we again become stingy. Right? And then Allah is talking about except, yes, this is the situation of mankind, except, and then Allah mentions some characteristics who are the exception to this kind of people. The first one that is being mentioned is Salah. You'll notice that many more surahs in this juz is talking about Salah. Okay, the people who pray Salah and they are like steadfast. They have established this Salah and they always pray. Then there are people who give their wealth in charity, okay, and then they keep their promises, they guard their private parts, and then they do not transgress, and then they keep their promises, they keep their word, and then again Allah is talking about how they'll guard their salah. Okay, so first Allah is saying they always pray, then Allah is talking about how they guard their salah. Okay. And then Allah is saying, what is the matter with the disbelievers that they are rushing towards you from the right and the left in groups? Are they each seeking to enter the garden of bliss? By no means. At that time it will be too late. Okay, on the day of resurrection. Now the next surah is Surah Nuh. This surah is the story of Nuh alayhi salam. Okay, this is one place where Nuh alayhi salam's story is mentioned in detail. How Nuh alayhi salam would day and night for over 950 years he did da'wah to his people. He kept persisting. He told them in secret and in public. He told them day and night. He kept giving da'wah, but the people kept rejecting him. And what were they rejecting? The message of Tawheed. Okay, because you guys know, right? Nuh alayhi salam's people were the first people to commit shirk. Before that, the prophets like Idris and Adam alayhi salam and other prophets, Sheet and other prophets who were sent before that, they would come with a message of like turn back to Allah. In the sense, they must have been committing, they must have been forgetting and committing other sins. But Nuh alayhi salam's people were the first people to commit shirk, like worshipping idols.
Which is the worst.
That is the worst it's the dhulm.
After that, many prophets had to deal with.
Exactly. After that, a lot of prophets had to deal with it. So Nuh alayhi salam's people were the first people who committed shirk, and it happened gradually. When pious people like Wad, Suwa,
there's like 5 very pious believers, and then after they die, the shaitan makes the people think they're very good people. We should at least make statues
just to remember them and all that. And then gradually, after generation, they started worshipping, and so Allah is sending Nuh alayhi salam to remind the people that this is not right. Turn back to Allah, worship only one God, and Allah. And this surah ends with it's a very beautiful dua. You guys should learn it. رب اغفر لي ولوالدي ولمن دخل بيتي مؤمنا وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات ولا تزد الظالمين إلا تبارا. Oh my Rabb, forgive me, my parents, and anyone who entered my house as a believer, and all believing men and believing women. As for the wrongdoers, grant them increase in nothing but destruction. Because if they are wrongdoers and against Allah, and they love Allah so much, then we cannot love somebody who doesn't love Allah, right? It doesn't make any sense, right? The next surah is Suratul Jinn. Okay, the Suratul Jinn actually praises the good jinn. Okay, and it's a beautiful presentation of how the jinn accept Islam. They heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam giving dawah, and they accept Islam. And remember, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a prophet to the jinn as well, right? And so the jinn are kind of saying that we used to think that this is how it was. Okay, we were very powerful, and we used to cause mischief and try to misguide people also, because Shaitan, Iblis is a jinn, right? And then how they are realizing that no, you have to follow Islam, and how they become Muslims. Okay, and it's a very Shaitan used to be a Muslim, but he becomes bad. And then these jinn used to also live in that way. They didn't have any knowledge of Islam and Allah, but these good jinn, when they hear the da'wah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they accept Islam. And so again, like we have mentioned before, this kind of gives hope to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that even when nobody is listening, his jinn is listening, right? And another thing is also that over here, even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't know the knowledge of the unseen, meaning about the jinn, without Allah telling him. So then no human being can claim to say that we know, we can predict the future using the jinn, like fortune tellers and sorcerers and all that. No human being can claim that they know the unseen. If Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself didn't know the unseen, then nobody else can make a claim to that, right? Like magicians and all that. And that's why we should stay away from it. Like even novels and books that talk about these things. That's why we tell you to choose the books that you read wisely, because a lot of books have these kind of topics in them. Okay? Suratul Muzammil, which we recited in the beginning. And Suratul Muzammil starts with O Muzammil, like the one who is folded up or covered up. Okay?
This is the second surah to be revealed.
The third.
Oh.
Okay? Muddathir was the second revelation. Okay. So Allah, Jibreel alayhi salam comes and the wahi Allah says, Ya ayyuhal muzammil qum al-layla illa qalila nisfahu aw inqus minhu qalila aw zid alayhi wa rattilil qur'ana tartila. So Allah is telling to stand up, like, oh muzammil, like the one who's wrapped up, stand up and pray at night, but not the whole night, half of it or at least a less or a little more. Okay, and recite the Quran with tartil, with beautifying the Quran. Okay, so one of the first instructions. Remember, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has just become a Rasul and a Nabi, and then after that he is being told to stand up and pray a major portion of the night. Okay, it's talking about tahajjud. So this is like was a very important spiritual preparation for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because and then after that Allah is telling him in this surah also, they will be rejectors, okay, of the message, who just want to enjoy the pleasures of this world. Just be patient with them for a while, and then Allah tells them like what Allah has prepared for them, and all those things. But the main thing is the surah is starting with Ya ayyuhal muzammil qum al-layla illa qalila, stand up and pray except a little bit. And then Allah is also talking about how read the Quran in beautiful tone. So you see how important these two things are, about praying and showing that khushu, and then beautifying your Quran recitation.
Okay. Prayer was revealed when he was on his time.
No, that is the 5 obligatory prayers.
So
but before that, but before that, prayer was still tahajjud. The first believers used to still pray tahajjud. Okay.
That's so important.
Yeah, that is actually how important it is, and we should at least, even if it's not a habit, we should at least try to do it once in a while. Like for example, there are nights when we just wake up in the middle of the night. That's called spiritual. People say it's a spiritual awakening. So just think of praying a little bit at that time. Especially now after Ramadan, it's going to be easier to make that happen. And Asma, you will inshallah keep up with your Fajr, right? You'll start waking up for Fajr from now onwards, inshallah, right? And Ammar too. Will you start waking up for Fajr, inshallah? Okay. So that's what Muzammil talks about, and the end of Muzammil also talks about the last ayah of Muzammil looks like it was revealed at another time, because it's talking about zakah and the 5 times salah when those things had not been prescribed yet. So maybe this last ayah was talking revealed at another time. Okay, and it's encouraging in charity. Just like Salah, a lot of these surahs are also keeping on telling about spending, doing charity. And that's how important charity is. Okay? Even before Salah was prescribed, charity was prescribed, like encouraged. They were told to do charity. Okay? Now the next surah is Suratul Muddathir. Okay? Suratul Muddathir, it's not the whole surah that was revealed. The second wahi was not the whole surah. Only the first 7 ayahs were the second wahi. So after, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq was the first revelation, right?
The whole, not
no, this was 5 ayahs. Then after that, it's not immediately after that, maybe after a month or 1.5 months or something like that. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't get any wahi. Okay, he was being prepared. It has to sink in, right? So the first wahi, Iqra bismi, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam became a Nabi. Ya ayyuhal muddathir is when people say that's when he became a Rasul also. Okay, and right? All Rasuls are Nabis, but not all Nabis are Rasul. So Rasul is like another selection. Okay, from the Nabi, another selection.
Like the first prophet was Prophet Adam, but the first Nabi was Rasul was Prophet
Nuh alayhi salam.
The surahs weren't revealed in like the first revelation is one surah, and it's not completing that.
At different times. So Muddathir, only the first 7 ayahs were revealed, after 1.5 months or 2 months or something after Iqra Bismi. And that what happens is, again, like he was outside and then he sees Jibreel alayhi salam, and then just like what happened in the first time, he gets scared and terrified and he runs back home and he tells Khadija, cover me up, and that's why he's being called as like Dathiruni, Zamiluni, he was telling. So that's why these two surahs, Muzammil must have been the third revelation, this is the second revelation. Muddathir is the one who is enveloped, again the one who is covered. Okay, so he's being told, oh Muddathir, stand up and warn. Over there it was stand up and pray, right? Over here Allah is telling stand up and warn. Yeah, warn people. Proclaim the greatness of your Rabb. Wa rabbaka fakabbir. Purify your clothes. Okay, yeah, purify your clothes. Yeah, of course, purify your clothes. Keep yourself away from abomination, from idolatry. Okay, and then that's what Allah is telling Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then the latter part of the surah, after the first 7 ayah, it was like after the later part of the surah is being revealed later on, and it's actually talking about Walid ibn Mughira. Remember we were talking about this part?
This is the part that
they show in Omar series where Khalid ibn Walid wants to just make sure to let it sink because it was the hardest ayah for him to deal with when he became Muslim, because it's about his father. Imagine your father is being cursed in the Quran, right? Allah is saying فَإِذَا نُقِرَ فِي النَّاقُورِ فَذَلِكَ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَوْمٌ عَسِيرٌ عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ غَيْرُ يَسِيرٌ from يَذَرْنِي وَمَنْ خَلَقْتُ وَحِيدًا. Okay, وَجَعَلْتُ لَهُ مَالًا مَمْدُودًا وَبَنِينَ شُهُودًا وَمَهَّدتُ لَهُ تَمْهِيدًا. Okay, so when Walid ibn Mughira, when he heard the Quran, he was actually very taken by it. People saw his reaction, how he's feeling in awe of it, and he'll go back inside after that, and then he's just thinking, but he has the arrogance and he doesn't want to accept Islam. So Abu Jahl will come and say that you can't let people show that you're affected by it. Like they want to remain on the wrong path. So foolish, right? They'll say that you cannot show the people because you're one of the leaders. If you show that you are attracted to it, other people will follow. And so Walid ibn Mughira is like, no, I can tell that it's like this and it's like this, how I can make fun of it. And at that very time, these ayahs are being revealed about him. So when he comes out and says that, oh, this is just poetry, or he's a man or whatever, these ayahs were already revealed about him because he stubbornly denied our revelations.
Just like everyone else, but he could have
he kind of had that. His heart could have had that change of mind. That's why it's also important to have right company. That his company was Abu Jahl, right? Choose right friends. But of course he was also arrogant. Okay, and then it's being told how soon I shall cast him into Saqar, about Walid ibn Mughira. Saqar is Jahannam. Soon I shall cast him into Saqar. Are you paying attention? Okay. Saqar. What will make you understand what Saqar is? It is a burning fire which leaves nothing and spares none. It shrivels the human flesh, and very graphic description is given. So so Saqar is one of the names of Jahannam. Jahannam has other names as well. Jahannam, Jahim, Saqar, Sa'ir. Yeah, a lot of different names. And then likewise, even Jannah has different names, or different levels are named differently, like Firdaus, Aliyin, Aden, Na'im. Okay, all these are names of Jannah. Okay, and then again, this surah also mentions how about the people who will be brought into hell. And why are they brought into hell? We did not used to offer the. What did I say? This just talks about the Lord. What good?
And prayer.
Salah. Okay. We did not used to offer the salah, nor did we used to feed the poor. Okay, and we wasted their time in vain talk. So these three, and we deny Day of Judgment. So these four things. So we should always think like, okay, are we offering our prayers? Are we doing charity? Whatever we can from our part, like even if you're not earning right now, whatever we can from our part. Are we wasting our time in vain talk, like useless talk, And then finally, denying the Day of Judgment, which alhamdulillah we believe. But those other three is actions. So we need to keep reflecting upon them. Okay? And then Allah talks about how on the Day of Judgment, people will flee like humor, frightened donkeys, fleeing from a lion. Okay? And Allah ends the surah thus. The next surah that we are doing is Surah Al-Qiyamah. It's again talking about the Day of Resurrection. Allah, La uqsimu bi yawm al-qiyamah. Allah is swearing by Yawm al-Qiyamah. Okay? Then Allah is asking, do you think that Allah will not be able to resurrect people, like put back the bones together and recreate everybody? Okay? If Allah can do it once, it's easy for Him to do it again. And then while Allah is talking about the Day of Resurrection, what will happen is there's an interruption. Okay? لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه وإذا قرأناه فاتبع قرآنه ثم إن علينا بيانه. Okay? كلا بل تحبون العاجلة, and it keeps going on. So what the interruption is, Allah is telling through Jibreel alayhi salam, O Prophet, do not move your tongue to try to memorize it, to try like لِتَعْجَلَ بِهِ, like to hasten to memorize it. Okay? It is Allah's, so this shows that this is one of the early revelations. Yeah. Because in the beginning, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not used to getting revelations. And so this shows that he was just a normal human being who has to get used to getting revelations, right? So beautiful, right? So he's trying to memorize it. So he's keeping on, like when he's hearing it, he's he's trying to memorize it. So this shows that this could have been like, maybe the fifth or sixth, like early revelations. And Allah is telling that it is Allah's job, Allah's responsibility to put it in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's memory. He's promising that you don't worry about memorizing it.
Actually,
you will be able to memorize
miracle it. Too, right? That he just, Jibreel came, he said it, and then Muhammad's system already got to memorize.
Exactly, that he was able to memorize. And it also shows that it is indeed not the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he's trying to memorize it, right? And then Allah is not just telling about the memorization, Allah is also promising him that the explanation, like to give you the knowledge to how to explain it to the others. Even that Allah will give it to him. And then again the topic changes back to the Day of Resurrection itself. How on that day some faces will be bright. وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ إِلَى رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ. Because you're seeing towards the Rabb, looking towards their Rabb. So this shows that for the believers, the best reward for the believers is seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah make us all among the people who will be able to see Allah's face and be happy with it. Okay? And that Allah will be happy with us as well. The next surah is, actually this is like very pleasing surah. Surah Al-Insan. It's actually, did you guys feel that when you were memorizing the surah was easy to memorize as well compared to some other surahs?
I felt like, like the first half, like the first one.
Yeah, and especially that parts where it talks about Jannah.
Yeah.
Okay? And
there's like a few ayahs like Jannah and how it extend like a lot of.
Yeah, but is that there in this surah? Yeah, I don't think that specific one is in the surah. The surah has two names, Insan or Ad-Dahr. Both of those are mentioned in the first ayah. هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر إنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا. Allah is asking, has there not passed over man a period of time when he was nothing, not even mentioned? So I just listened to Yasir Qadi's lecture. What it means is, like if you think about it, like mankind is arrogant, right? Human beings can be arrogant, thinking we are great people. So Allah is asking, just some time back, there used to be a time when nobody even knew you. You didn't even exist. What are you feeling so arrogant and proud about?
Like,
Fir'aun or whoever it is, even for us, for anybody, okay? Whereas Allah, He's the one who's ever living, who always existed and who will always exist, right? And then Allah says, indeed, we have created man from just mixed fluid. That's how negligible or small we are, okay? And then Allah is telling that He created so that we may test Him. And then He is the one who gave us the faculties of hearing and sight, okay? And then the surah again talks about how the importance of feeding the poor, the orphan, the prisoner, for the love of Allah, not seeking anything except the pleasure of Allah. Not so that you can put it on Facebook or Instagram or share it with others, just purely for the sake of Allah, you're doing some good deeds. So yes, some of our good deeds might become exposed, but we should also try to do some good deeds that nobody knows except Allah, okay? And then Allah talks about how the righteous people will get Jannah, reclining, the tree. Allah talks about the trees of paradise, the fruits of paradise, how will be served in silver dishes, the type of glasses you'll drink from, and the fountains that your drinks will be poured from, okay? And how in different levels of Jannah, like in higher levels of Jannah, the fountains and the drinks will be better, okay? And then whatever you wish, you'll get it immediately. Allah talks about zanjabil. It's a drink in Jannah. It's a flavored ginger flavored water from a fountain called salsabil. Okay, salsabil, zanjabil, and the trees over there. All that is being mentioned, and Allah talks.
The trees, it can be any color you want, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then Allah talks about how Allah is sending down the Quran in gradual revelations. So wait with patience of your Rabb and don't, And then Allah ends the surah by saying, glorify the name of your Rabb in the morning and in the evening, prostrate before Him at night. Again, in the long hours of the night, it's talking about the Hajjud again. Okay, and that's how Allah ends the surah. The final surah, Suratul Mursalat, it starts by Allah swearing by different kinds of winds. Well, Mursalati urfa, the winds that are like familiar, that Allah sends one after the other. Then Allah is talking about the raging kind of wind, the hurricane type of wind. The wind that lifts up the clouds, like Allah swearing upon the wind, okay? And then Allah is again it's talking about Day of Judgment. Allah keeps asking questions like, don't you know that I was able to destroy the former generations? Don't you know this is how it's going to be in hell? This is how, Allah keeps asking questions, okay? Then Allah tells how it is going to be on the Day of Judgment. And then that's why, who remembers the repetitive ayah in this surah? Aisha Rahman. Can you say that louder? Wailun yawmaidhin lil mukaththibin. It's there in Mutaffifin also. So wailun yawmaidhin lil mukaththibin, what does it mean? Allah is saying, woe on that day to the disbelievers. Like it's a curse, like they are lost. The disbelievers are lost. Because even though all this has been told to them, they are denying it. So they are lost. Okay, that's what it means.
Mukaththibin means liars.
Right? Mukaththibin means the people who belie.
Kazzab
Not liars, they are belying,
liars.
like they're rejecting, they're disbelieving. Yeah, and that ayah is being mentioned 10 times. It keeps being mentioned, right? And then Allah ends the surah by saying, فَبِأَيِّ حَدِيثٍ بَعْدَهُ يُؤْمِنُونَ. In what statement after this Quran will you believe? Meaning, if you can believe in this ultimate, like, haqqul yaqeen, this absolute truth of the Quran, then what will you believe in? Like this, there's nothing more true than this. If you cannot believe in this, then what will you believe in? Okay? And that's how Allah ends this surah.
So it's really cool how Allah's swearing by the winds. Like only Allah who created the winds will be like swearing by. Like if it was made by if Muhammad was like a poet, like no one would swear upon the winds, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like a thing that like
Or by
Allah
the time, like the unique ayahs where Allah is swearing upon different creations. It's not just mentioning the creation like by the wind. It mentions,
objects and stuff.
yeah, it mentions the wind in a specific way, like a descriptive way,
Only
right?
the creator can describe.
Only the creator will be able to know the exact mechanism,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, subhanallah. Okay, we'll end here. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك
نشهد
نشهد
أن
أن
لا
لا
إله
إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم.
إلا أنت وبركاته.